Hello everyone and welcome to TV Talks, the show where I take a look at both the good and the bad of what television has to offer. So, this retrospective is usually talking about the big hits, the big landmarks for Cartoon Network's history, but I want to take a little look at the lesser known hits, the lesser known shows that, well, maybe were popular at the time, maybe weren't, but have now faded away into obscurity for all intents and purposes. There are 4 shows that I can think of that fit this moniker. One of them I've already reviewed, Whatever Happened to Robot Jones, which, if you want to see what I think of that amazing piece of animation, why don't you go ahead and check out my other video about it. The other ones are Time Squad, Mike, Lou and Og, and Sheep in the Big City. Let's start with Time Squad. This show is about a boy named Otto, a big muscular man named Buck Tudrussell, and a robot voiced by Mark Hamill named Larry, as they go back in time and ensure that the past stays the same, and that everything that's supposed to happen actually happens. This show was a moderate hit at the time, even hosting Cartoon Fridays once or twice, but ever since it ended, it just gone. Thanos snapped, disappeared, never seen again. Which is a real shame. Like Whatever Happened to Robot Jones, this one had a little bit of production difficulty, and it wasn't handled so well towards the very end of the series. But also like that show, it had a very, very unique sense of writing. The dialogue is very snappy and fast, and if you don't like one joke, there's going to be another one coming again, and again, and again, and again. The show always keeps you on your toes, and hey, as a history fan, I get a lot of the history jokes that they throw out. Which I guess also makes it slightly educational, because they talk about some people like Eli Whitney or Abraham Lincoln. While there's nothing too obscure, they actually do talk about some stuff that would be pretty interesting to know. The characters are fun, the voice acting is great, the animation is pretty nice and has a pretty good style, and the premise is really engaging too. There's just a lot of good things to like about Time Squad. And the final episode even has, gasp, a respectful portrayal of President George W. Bush. I don't believe it. Yeah, it's actually true. Sure, they make him kind of wacky and loony as he's trying to build the biggest ball of twine, but still, it's not the most disrespectful thing that's ever happened to the president. Time Squad is a very fun, very exciting show, and I recommend you all check it out. It's kind of simple to talk about because if I talk too much about it, it gives a lot of it away. But I give it the Archibald seal of approval. Ta-da! Moving on to Mike, Lou and Og, this show is only known for the fact that nobody remembers it. It's about some natives and some girl from the outside world, and they're on an island, and that's kind of it. A lot of people just talk smack about this, saying, oh yeah, this show was just kind of forgettable, this show was just kind of nothing, it was just there to take up time. Yeah, I'm right there. This is going to be another short one because there's nothing to talk about with Mike, Lou, and Og. The pacing is slow. The humor is basically Flintstones-esque, where they use a lot of island stuff as modern-day technology, I guess. And nothing else, really. A lot of the stuff is just yelling and screaming and slow and boring. The animation, too, also isn't very good. It's not by Klasky Csupo, or however you pronounce that, but it kind of looks like it. It's not got that cheap grade, but it does have that kind of simplistic character design, or the square-shaped heads, or just something about the off shape of everybody just doesn't look quite right, and it's not really appealing at all. The show is just devoid of, anything. Fast movement, exciting music, snappy jokes, pacing. All of it is missing from Mike, Lou, and Og. It kind of feels like this show was just slapped together, and I think Cartoon Network agrees with me, considering the fact that they swept it under the rug well before it was canceled. They didn't really treat the show with respect, and although it is sad to see a creator's show get swept under the rug like this, if it's Mike, Lou, and Og, I can kind of see why. The show just has nothing going for it. It's hard to sit down and watch an episode because just nothing happens, nothing exciting happens, nothing of anything really happens. And it gets the Skyline Seal disapproval. Moving on to Sheep in the Big City, this show has been buried tremendously by Cartoon Network. Next to Robot Jones, this is one of the hardest to find when it comes to the original cartoons. And next to Robot Jones has had the worst treatment. Because of the reasons I'm going to go to later, Sheep in the Big City is not really a show that you can overmarket and oversaturize. Because of that, Cartoon Network felt that it didn't really fit their demo, so they never gave it the time of day. Sheep and his friends never really hosted Cartoon Fridays. Advertisements were kept to a minimum. Sometimes new episodes just would skip a week or so and nobody would be any the wiser. Ratings for the show were terrible all throughout because Cartoon Network did nothing to help this show. And a lot of people at the time really liked it though. It was like Robot Jones, which I've been mentioning a lot for a show I'm not reviewing in this video. A lot of people loved it. A lot of people loved its snappy style. A lot of people loved its quirky way of talking. A lot of people loved everything about it. But still, Cartoon Network just said, no, don't want it, and got rid of it. And I'm one of those people that agrees that it's a very good show. This is basically just Rocky and Bullwinkle, but made in the early 2000s. I'm not kidding. It's like Jay Ward himself came back to life and then wrote all of this stuff. There's a lot of those fake commercials, a lot of song numbers, and a lot of quirky one-liners that you find in Rocky and Bullwinkle. Like there's a fact that the mad scientist is named the Angry Scientist. The villains' names are General Specific and Private Public. There's a narrator that constantly messes with the stories. The only note is that the stories don't really have any presence, mostly because Sheep in the Big City is just a big vehicle to tell jokes. That's basically all it is. It's basically just an animated stand-up routine that kind of tells a story. And it's funny. It's really funny. The animation is simplistic, and it really helps emphasize a lot of the quirkiness that goes on within the show. The writing style is fast, upbeat, and timeless. What's not to love? My favorite parts of this are the Ranting Swede segments, which I'm sure you can still find online, providing Cartoon Network doesn't copyright claim them, because, yeah, they copyright claim a show they try to pretend never even existed. Go figure that one out. I don't dare ruin these for you. Go look them up. It's just insane yelling and screaming, and it's not as annoying as it sounds. It's actually really funny. So, Sheep in the Big City gets the Archibald Seal of Approval. So those were some mini reviews of 3 underrated shows on Cartoon Network that were never given the time of day when they first came out. But most of them, at least, were very good, and I'm sad to see that they never got the love they deserve. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the darkest point in Cartoon Network history. You see, after the Cartoon branding ended with Codename Kids Next Door, they tried a bunch of other shows out like Squirrel Boy, My Gym Partner's a Monkey, Chowder, Flapjack. Some were successes, some were not. But then, in order to renew interest, they did something unforgivable. What was that? Well, tune in tomorrow, folks, to find out.
Good night, everybody. Oh dear.